What if the United States actually had natural borders? The United States has some of the worst borders for its states, and now they're actually natural. So they're all based on natural, like mountains or rivers or something, and they all look a lot worse, honestly, but at the same time, it looks kind of better, and it like makes a lot more sense if they do it based on rivers or mountains or something that'll actually like geographically divide the two states. But now they're all fighting against each other. We're going to see who the strongest new nation is. I mean, honestly, I'd say California looks even better than they normally would. So I think they're probably in the strongest position, and Quebec is actually honestly really strong as well. So, I mean, it could be any of these nations just because there are like 80 different nations here, and a lot of them are already dying already. Rest in peace to Arkansas. And there's just a lot of different nations here, and it all just looks kind of weird. There's so many different like pieces of terrain here, which is honestly like, let's just turn that off. I'd rather not see all the different terrain, but it is really interesting to see like all these rivers and all of them make it all a lot different. But yeah, you have like the British Columbia Commonwealth. They look really strong here. I mean, Oregon looks way stronger than they normally would. Texas looks like they might die immediately. A lot of nations in the Northeast have died already. They're just getting eaten by Canada. And just a lot hard to see the actual states because they're not in their normal position. So it's like I can't really tell if someone's doing way better. Like clearly Mississippi is doing way better. Georgia's doing a lot stronger. And rest in peace to Texas. They are now a puppet of Mexico. That is beautiful to see. But yeah, Canada and Mexico are just eating the United States, and they're not really doing it the other way around. So that's pretty interesting as well. I mean, honestly, I'd say someone who I'd want to win, maybe Maine. That'd be pretty cool. Like, that'd just be such a funny win. But yeah, I mean, anyone here is kind of interesting. I just want to see a not normal nation win it. I mean, that'd be cool. Like Magnolia, Mississippi winning it all would be really cool. But let's just speed it up a little. I just kind of want to get a lot of these smaller nations out of the way because who cares about the fascist government of Sinaloa or like the Indiana tribe or Kentucky? Like, I mean, of course I care about them, but I'd rather just see them blob up into bigger nations than them just being the really small nations they are at the moment. And speaking about who cares about Kentucky, it looks like they're about to get capitulated by Tennessee. So rest in peace to them. But they are surviving. So maybe I spoke a little bit too soon. There's a lot going on in Saskatchewan, North Dakota, and South Dakota. The Minnesota goes down to Iowa. Iowa looks pretty strong, honestly, as well. But I'd say out of all the American states, yeah, there really isn't anyone that's doing as well as Mississippi, but America's just really not doing well. I mean, you look at Saskatchewan is doing extremely well. Like, I don't know what this is. Mexico here, the Mexico that took over Texas is doing really well at the same time. Just a lot of the Canadian states are doing way better than any of the U.S. ones are. I mean, look at this right here. The biggest U.S. state is Mississippi. Then you have Oregon and you have California. And California and Oregon haven't really grown that much. So Mississippi is the only one that's actually like grown and expanded into a much bigger nation. All the rest of them are all these Canadian or Mexico nations. So that's very, very interesting to me. And yeah, it is. But it is not looking good for a lot of these ones. They're all seemingly just going up and down in terms of strength. And places like California and Oregon honestly seem like the strongest nations here, and they have pretty good positions as well. They can just expand like southeast here and northwest for Oregon. I think they will continue to grow. But like, look how good Mississippi is doing. Just beautiful. And Iowa is also doing pretty strong. Rest in peace to Saskatchewan. Yeah. It is very interesting that the states are still surviving. Because like, yeah, would I really expect Virginia to do that well in here? Probably not. But it is just a lot more beautiful that all these states are now officially based on natural borders. And yeah, Mississippi is really just getting saved. Like, look how strong they've become. They've become the strongest nation in the U.S. and probably, yeah, one of the strongest nations in this entire thing. And if they just take out a couple more and they're right next to a bunch of really, really small nations, like, they could start snowballing into something huge here. So I'm really rooting for Mississippi. Like, Mississippi just looks amazing. And rest in peace to Michigan. They just got taken down by Operation Canada. That's such a beautiful name. And Indiana's doing really well as well. That's cool. They took out Ohio. They took out the Ohio Reclamation Army. Beautiful name as well. But yeah, the civilian dictatorship of Oregon doing pretty good. I love these names. They're so great. You got the representative monarchy of I don't know. I'm not gonna say that name. The representative monarchy. Beautiful. Like they look great. Quebec looks great. Alberta looks pretty solid as well. But the Republic of Three Rivers is about to take out Alberta. That would be so great to see them win. The Republic of Three Rivers is just a much better name. Oh my God, Mississippi the Magnolia is getting eaten by Kentucky. And I was hating on Kentucky earlier. And oh my God, no way Kentucky wins this. Oh my God. I was hating on Kentucky, and now they just capitulated Mississippi, who I was meat riding for so long. That's just insane, in my opinion. Jamaica became a puppet state of the Cuban Maritime Republic. These are just amazing names. There's so much going on. Indiana versus the new American Kentucky. I was hating on both of these states, and now they're both doing pretty well. So that's just so funny to me. Yeah, a lot is happening in Canada, and if Operation Canada can take out Quebec, that would be just a crazy merge between two nations, because they would be clearly the strongest nation if they can take out Quebec here, because there's so much land gained between the two of them, and I think they're probably the two strongest nations at the moment. And now New American Kentucky is going insane. I was hating on them for so long, and now they might be the strongest nation in America, especially if they can take out Tennessee here. Wow, it's just crazy how there can be such a big switch from one side. Like, they were doing so bad for so long, and then they take out Mississippi, and now they're one of the strongest nations in all of America. But yeah, America is starting to blob out, which is kind of nice. You have Iowa doing really well, Utah still being strong, Colorado being strong, California, Oregon, they all look good. Even South Dakota's junta looking great. Mexico kind of looks the same as before. I mean, you still have the representative monarchy doing well, but everyone else kind of seems to be the same size they were at the beginning. Even in the Caribbean, I mean, you have Cuba doing well, but everyone else seems to kind of be the same size. It's mainly just the US that's done a lot of blobbing up, and then Canada as well, mainly in this northwest section. There hasn't really been that much happening here. Yes, they've taken out Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Michigan, but Operation Canada just kind of looks similar, I guess. I don't know. We'll really see. I would say, yeah, Quebec is still in a really good spot. I mean, of course, Operation Canada is, but they're getting destroyed by Delaware right now, so that's just not a good look for them. And they might lose their capital. No way. If Delaware just took down Toronto from Operation Canada, the United States of Delaware, that would be an insane... Look how small Delaware is. They're this big of a nation. And now they just took out a lot of Canada. And now Oklahoma is about to take down New American Kentucky, which actually is kind of cool. Like Oklahoma would be a lot cooler of a nation to win it all than Kentucky. And now Tennessee, okay, finally, all you Kentuckians who are hating on me for just being mean to Kentucky this entire time, they do not look good at the moment. And Indiana, again, just another nation that I was hating on before, is now also doing well against Operation Canada. And also they're doing well against Tennessee, kind of. I don't know. There's a lot going on. Nebraska just took out the South Dakota junta, and now Iowa's also looking pretty good. The United States of Delaware is taking out Quebec as well. The United States of Delaware just puppeted Maine too, so that's pretty cool. And the United States of Delaware just looking beautiful at the moment. The Indiana tribe doing a little bit of fighting. But yeah, wow, this is just insane. These guys are so small at the beginning. They're just Delaware right here. And now they've just been going crazy here. North Carolina also looks pretty solid. But, I mean, they're not that amazing. Delaware is just doing crazy things. And Zacatecas is taking down the representative monarchy. And yeah, Mexico, I mean, I would say honestly, the United States is doing better than any other country probably at the moment. just because they have a lot more land in other countries than other countries do in them. But yeah, the Grand Duchy of Iowa, let's look right now at the leaders. I'd say it's definitely Iowa, Quebec. Quebec is still technically up here and doing really well. Delaware, of course, is doing amazing. Operation Canada, Alberta. Yeah, a lot of the same names. It's mostly the Canadian states, but like I'd say the United States look a lot stronger because they've kind of all blobbed into just a couple different nations, and they can still take a lot from like Mexico or from Canada, and they're kind of in a good spot to just take a lot from both of them, which I think is kind of the most important part here. But yeah, Delaware just needs to take out either Quebec or Operation Canada, and does not look good for Delaware. They have no money. They're about to run out, and they're about to get capitulated themselves. So I guess rest in peace to Delaware. It does not look good for them. I was gassing up the United States because mainly of Delaware, and Delaware is probably going to get capitulated by Quebec and Operation Canada. So rest in peace to them, potentially. Maybe not, but it still doesn't look good for them. Either way, I mean, I guess they're pulling it off, but yeah, they're not doing bad. They're not doing bad, but they definitely don't look as strong as I thought they were before. California versus Oregon. California is kind of destroying Oregon. California looks extremely strong, 14,000 gold. They just need to start making some inroads in here. All these nations look extremely strong. They have a ton of gold, and they just need to start fighting some people. Like, put that gold to good use, start taking over some more land, get some more gold. Pretty simple method here, but like California, you just need to take over. Yeah, I feel like the mandate of Utah is a good one to go for. But yeah, now the United States don't look as strong as they did before. Like, I was thinking, wow, the United States looks so strong. Now Alberta is pushing into the United States. Zacatecas is pushing into the United States. And the United States does have a little bit of land in Canada, but not really anything in Mexico besides this Colorado land. But they just have lost a lot of land everywhere else. So I don't know. It really is going to be interesting to see who does win this, because there's just so much going on even at this point. You have Zacatecas and Iowa fighting. You have Quebec and Operation Canada fighting. You have, who is this? Oh, the fascist government of, whatever you are, this nation in West Mexico. Oh, Sinaloa. Okay, cool. They're doing well, and they're taking out Zacatecas. If Zacatecas could go down to one of them, that's a lot of land for the Grand Duchy of Iowa to scoop up, potentially. California is kind of making some inroads into Baja California, which is also cool. But yeah, the United States does not look that great here. Canada looks fine, honestly. I mean, United States of Delaware is still extremely strong at the moment, but we'll see how they go. It's just kind of like a little flip. Like, the United States looks really strong for a couple moments, then the other nations do, and then it's just like a switch between everyone. Indiana, honestly, has done really well this entire game, but like, yeah, the Grand Duchy of Iowa, I would say for sure is the strongest American nation, and then probably Delaware, and then probably like California, Oregon, really depending on who wins between these two guys, which it looks like Oregon is doing at the moment. So, I mean, you really only have three like huge nations in. Oh, wow. Iowa just, oh my God. So Zacatecas commune goes down to Jalisco, and then Iowa gets to take over a lot of their land. Delaware is pretty close to taking out Quebec here. That's pretty cool as well. And the Crown Republic of Colorado is now fighting against their puppet master, who was Iowa, and they took over a ton of land. California does not look good at all. Indiana is making some really good moves, honestly. And rest in peace to California, it looks like pretty soon. They just lost a ton of their land to Oregon. Indiana is taking over basically all of Iowa's land. Indiana looks extremely strong. Delaware looks pretty good. Colorado somehow is becoming a strong nation as well. Indiana looks great. They have a lot of the like mid-eastern territories, and just, I don't know, they look great. They've got some land all the way from the Gulf of Mexico all the way up to the Great Lakes. That looks great. And yeah, California is kind of screwed here. It looks like they're going to get capitulated by Colorado, if not Oregon. Either one of those, they don't look good. But yeah, I'd say the United States look a lot stronger than any other nation. They've got a ton of land, a good amount of land in Mexico, a good amount of land in Canada, and they basically have the majority of their own land besides Alberta where they're at. But yeah, I don't know. It really still could be any nation. I'd say right now the strongest nation is probably Oregon. They just have a really good position too. And if they can take over Alberta, they're in just a great spot. But Indiana also looks solid, and they're taking out Delaware. Just someone needs to take out Operation Canada and Quebec, because if the United States, Alberta's taking out Colorado now, but Alberta does not have any money. So if just Oregon can fight against Alberta, they will just start doing extremely well. Utah just went down to Alberta. I thought Utah was gone for so long at this point. And now Colorado is losing a lot of land. The Grand Duchy of Iowa is starting to take away some of the land from the fascist government of Sinaloa. It's kind of insane, all these different names and kind of what's happening with each of them. Yeah, Colorado is still doing kind of well here. That's pretty cool, honestly. Yeah, I really don't know who's going to win at this point. I would say, yeah, Oregon is still probably in the best spot. They just have a really good position on the map. But yeah, I think really it could go to anyone here. And it just doesn't look great for any of the Canadian nations. I mean, maybe Alberta, but like, I still don't think Alberta is as strong as any of the United States nations here between Iowa and Indiana and Oregon. But I don't know. I feel like it is probably going to be one of the United States nations winning it all. And even Ragtag, New Mexico, great name as well. They look reasonably strong here. Delaware is kind of getting shit on by Quebec, so that's not great. Indiana is honestly doing pretty solid, but they haven't really done much in a while. I'm just going to speed this up a little bit more as well. I'm trying to see some action happening. I'm trying to see Baja California. Sinaloa looks to be going down to Jalisco. Indiana versus Delaware. Delaware has just been slowly but surely taken down by all the nations around them, just whittled down to basically nothing. And now they just became a puppet of Quebec. Alberta and Operation Canada are fighting against each other. So yeah, I don't know. Oregon is still looking amazing. Oregon has basically not lost any land this entire game. They've just slowly started to pick off land from other people. Delaware and Quebec are taking out Operation Canada, so that's nice to see, I guess. There's a lot happening in Mexico right now, Iowa. So someone's got to take out Operation Canada. They've been one of the strongest nations this entire time, but no one's been able to take down Operation Canada. Oregon versus Alberta does not look good for Alberta. Alberta is, okay, they did run out of gold, but they did peace out immediately, so that's good for them, I guess. Delaware is revolting against Quebec. Not looking good for Delaware. Delaware could capitulate pretty soon. And Alberta, they don't look strong, but like they do still technically have a lot of land, almost as much as anyone. I think Quebec is in first place, and then probably, yeah, maybe the Grand Duchy of Iowa. Yeah. And it looks like rest in peace to Operation Canada. They now are officially a puppet of Quebec. Quebec does look really strong right now. So they could kind of pull it off. They have the majority of the Northeast, and they have two puppets in Ontario and Delaware. So they look strong. But yeah, Oregon to me, definitely, I would say the strongest nation here. They just have a really good position as well. They basically not lost any land all game. And I would say it's going to be pretty hard for them to lose the land they have had at the beginning of the game as well. So we will see. But now we're like really speeding up. We got a lot of battles going on, but I feel like a lot of land hasn't changed in a while. Like Sinaloa is finally taking out Baja California. Operation Canada is basically getting suffocated. Same thing with Indiana. Indiana is just slowly losing land to Quebec. Iowa is doing well, but it really is looking like the Canadian nations are going to continue to do well. Wow. Iowa is doing some big numbers against Alberta. So it looks like the western version of the country is all going to be the United States. But yeah, Quebec is still doing extremely well. Iowa is now pushing into Oregon, which is not a good look for Oregon. Oregon just needs to attack Alberta, honestly. And Sinaloa is now going crazy into New Mexico. Quebec and Iowa are fighting. Not really that many moves here. The Yucatan Empire just moved a lot into Indiana. The Yucatan Empire looks really strong. They've united all of the Caribbean, and they've got still a lot of space to move, and they can kind of take over all of like Guerrero here and then Sinaloa. We'll see. The Grand Duchy of Iowa ran out of money, and it looks like they're getting eaten by everyone else. Indiana tribe just went down, and the Grand Duchy of Iowa also looks like they're about to die. So, wow. This is kind of crazy. So now we only have, I'd say, really 2 American nations that are still alive. You have basically 2 Canadian nations that are still alive, and you have 1 Mexican nation that is basically like still alive and a competitor here with the Yucatan Empire. You have ragtag New Mexico, and it looks like they're about to take down their only American competitor, basically. I mean, you could still say Colorado could win, but I'd say it's pretty unlikely. Ragtag New Mexico is looking like the strongest American nation. Quebec looks great for Canada. Alberta has just somehow stuck around for so long, but Oregon is finally doing a lot of work into Alberta, and they need to fight against Alberta and just take them out. Put them to rest, put them to bed, because that is the only place that Oregon can really make a strong foothold in to like fight against Quebec. They need to take over Alberta's land. If they don't, I would say Oregon is kind of screwed, because but they can take maybe not. We'll really see here. Quebec is fighting against Delaware. The Yucatan Empire is now a part of the Quebec Empire as well. Quebec could really take over it all. But if Oregon, you just need to take out Alberta. That's it. And it's not looking good for you guys. You guys just lost a lot of land in them. The Yucatan Empire is now fighting back against Quebec and taking over a bunch of land. So the Yucatan is now on their own again as well. And it looks like kind of a rest in peace to Oregon. They're finally getting taken out by Alberta. Alberta has been the most resilient nation so far, I'd say. They've just been in a perfect position, and they've been trying to get taken over by so many other nations and just somehow surviving. It's a classic, like, they're not doing well, but they're just surviving, and now they're in a like reasonably good position, and now they're taking out New Mexico. So it looks like the United States are officially done for. You have technically still New Mexico, Delaware, and Oregon, but it very much looks like one of the 2 Canadian nations is going to win it all. Maybe someone else will pull it off, but I feel like it's very unlikely that Quebec or Alberta doesn't win this all. But I mean, we'll see. Alberta has just somehow survived this entire time, and rest in peace to Oregon. That is so sad to see. Delaware is now fighting against Quebec and taking over a ton of land. Okay, Delaware. Okay, they're making a foothold, but now they are officially capitulated. So now there is 4 nations left. One of them is the United States of America, and then you have 2 Canadian nations left, 1 Mexican nation left. And I don't know. It could really be any of these guys. They all have like a reasonably strong foothold. I'd say it's very much more likely for the Canadian nations to win, but you know, if they have a couple bad battles, it could be anyone's game here. And honestly, what I will do, okay, I was going to say if any nation didn't die right now, which it looks like Quebec is fully dead here, basically. But if there wasn't any big territorial changes for a while, I'm just going to have them go in an all-out battle royale, and someone will come out on top. But we'll see what happens. Rest in peace, the United States. It looks like ragtag New Mexico will capitulate. Okay, now I'm just going to have a battle royale between these 3 nations. Doesn't really matter. They're going to fight to the death. That's how it's going to go. And we'll see who the winner is. It looks like Yucatan is the strongest nation here, honestly. Fight to the death. Fight to the death. You guys all need to fight to the death. I just want to have a winner. They all just have no money. Okay, but it looks like Yucatan is going to take out Quebec. Okay, so they puppeted Quebec. Fight to the death. Just someone come out here on top. That's all I want to see. And I might have set the Yucatan Empire up, but it looks like colonial Alberta is going to win this all. They're going to be the strongest nation in the world. And if the United States had natural borders, colonial Alberta would come out on top. And it does show just by the fact that they were all the way up here. They were getting beat down by a lot of nations. They were really strong at the beginning, but they really had kind of a comeback story where I thought they were going to die so easily, so early to someone like Oregon, and they just didn't. And they just slowly survived and slowly survived more. And now it looks like they're going to take it all. They're going to take down the Republic of Quebec, potentially, and the Yucatan Empire as well. So, yeah, I don't think there's any way that Quebec could win this. Maybe they do, but I feel like it's very unlikely that they can fully beat Alberta. I mean, we'll see. It does look like they are pushing a little bit, but I mean, yeah, I guess I'm not going to let it happen until they fully take out Quebec, which, okay. Officially, they are so close to taking out Quebec, and the Yucatan Empire looks like it's about to be finished as well. But now, okay, so we're so close here. Okay, now Alberta has officially taken over both Quebec and Yucatan, where they're both their puppets right now. They will eventually annex all the land, but I'm going to say officially Alberta is the winner of the entire United States, but with natural borders battle royale. They did take over everyone, and they did have just a great underdog story.